First of all, I want to take this opportunity to appreciate the International Center for Transitional Justice for really taking the time to consider a workshop together with the SDSR board, and at least looking at transitional justice from the context of security sector reforms. We are grateful because actually, in as much as we know the interlinkages of transitional justice and security sector reforms, we've never really sat down to look at it in this context of security sector reforms. So we're grateful for the opportunity. Maybe I talk a little bit about the role of security sector reforms in ensuring sustainable peace. As we're all aware, the agreement has actually put in its center the security sector reforms. This is a recognition that actually the security sector, maybe some of the root causes of our conflict are rooted into our security sector, its structures and institutions. We also have to remember that the security sector is also responsible for, or partially responsible for dispensation of justice, which is an element that is also crucial for ensuring sustainable peace in the country. And in the context of our country, we've just heard the co-chair or the interim chair speak about intercommunal conflicts. This is so much related to two things. Related to the nature of our security sector, but also on our justice sector, as well as the configuration of our society. And that is why the peace agreement, as part of its framework, there is a recognition and there is a whole chapter, not only on transitional justice, but it says transitional justice, reconciliation, and healing. This is an important element for us in the security sector, and also with regards to security sector reforms. This is an important linkage or relationship that as we work on the reforms, we recognize that. Because in the process of reforms, we look at institutions, because one of the contexts that we look at is state building. When we embarked on working on the strategic security sector. So one of the contexts is state building, which means we look at state institutions, their effectiveness to deliver on security, which zero down on structures of security sector agencies. And this contributes directly to issues of justice and transitional justice, especially when you link it to law enforcement sector in the security sector. So now we have an opportunity to actually try and see these mandates that we have developed by way of developing the policies or the relevant policies as required by the agreement, that we ensure that the structures also speak to justice and transitional justice in the country, and issues of accountability. So this is this is crucial. It is also important to keep following the other institutions that have been established by the agreement on transitional justice, reconciliation and healing. So we have 3 institutions, and these institutions we also need to now configure as it is work in progress, so we can also have an opportunity to check how relevant are these institutions for when we're looking to to security sector reforms and transformation. When we talk of sustainable peace, there are a number of elements. Some are more central than others. Some are more critical than others. Some happen simply because you address others. So when we address the security sector reforms, and transformation, a number of other elements will automatically fall in place. Because when we look at the security sector institution, security sector governance in democracy is critical. And we've discussed this. And it's relevant to delivery of justice and so on. So these are all elements that we have identified when we were working on the security sector transformation roadmap. So there are a number of things that maybe when we were discussing them, sometimes they don't make sense, but as we progress, we're beginning to recognize the importance of such. I really don't want to dwell so much on this. What I want to say is that this is an opportunity for SDSR to maybe have in-depth understanding of the transitional justice, what it means to the processes we have undertaken, and maybe what we need to undertake in the future. We also recognize that the role and functions of the board will not end with the approval of the policy documents. You are aware of that. So, which means we really must use this opportunity to have a bit of an insight on the transitional justice. I'm aware sometimes that people, when you talk about issues of justice and you're a post-conflict country, especially in our context where the war was brutal, was tragic, serious violations of rights, and so on. So you find people feel a little bit uneasy because there's always that concept of people saying, okay, maybe if you achieve peace, maybe justice is not that important. So some people will say peace first, but peace and justice are two faces of the same coin. There's no way you can ignore the element of justice, because peace for many people have different meanings. In most cases now, the guns are silenced. We have other issues, we call them intercommunal conflicts. So we say peace is relatively here. But somebody else, for them to actually gain a peace of mind, a peace of heart, they also probably need an opportunity for redress. Some injustices that they might have gone through during this war. So they will not be truly and utterly at peace until they have that opportunity. Somebody else would say, okay, I can move on with my business, my livelihood, and all of this. Whatever might have happened is the past. And that is peace for that person. Somebody else would say, okay, we really need to sit down with that other community because a lot has happened. We cannot resume our relationships with that other community unless we address our grievances, which will need a process. And this is why the agreement has given this opportunity for reconciliation. So that means peace for that community and the other community. So it's a number of things. And as we move on, a time will come when we will think that, we will think differently. We will think peace is development. You know, I need a road. And the scars of the war and so on, we would have healed and we would have moved forward. So that's why it is important for us to take keen interest in this training workshop. We're grateful for it, and I wish you good deliberation. This morning, the security advisor was supposed to be the one opening this workshop, but he's outside the country. We still hope to receive some of our senior colleagues, the Minister of Justice or his representative, Constitutional Affairs, also the Minister of Cabinet Affairs, by his virtue of being a member of RJMAC, as well as someone who is engaged in the implementation of the agreement. And so we still expect them. They will come in any time, and whenever they come, we will give them an opportunity to say something. With this, we open the workshop and we move forward. Maybe before